Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy, Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, we are turning our focus to the mandatory mini camps that happened last week, looking at some of the reports that came out over the weekend to see who was standing out as we now head into the lull period of the NFL offseason. We are on summer break, as the kids like to call it these days. So we've got some camp standouts. We've got some stuff to talk about. So go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome into the chat. Mark, Anthony, Ryan, Dakota, anyone that's listening on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the podcast. If you're listening on the podcast, again, you can find the link to the Wake and Take podcast in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you're listening or tuning in from. Appreciate you guys being here. We'll go ahead and get started. We are literally only talking mini camp standouts today, keeping it simple, keeping it short. We've got some fun little stories to break down, and we'll get my takes. So we'll start, or I'll go ahead and tease. You want to stick around because at the end of the show, we have a deep sleeper to talk about that is standing out right now at mini camps, or was standing out at mini camps, made a really big splash last week. So make sure you stick around towards the end of the show as we'll break down a deep sleeper. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about some other stories from maybe some of the bigger players and get our takes on that. So we'll start with a fun story. A very fun story. We'll go with J.J. McCarthy. And this is just a quick one. J.J. McCarthy's locker is right next to Justin Jefferson's. They've done the whole locker room thing with J.J. McCarthy and Justin Jefferson. The J.J. to J.J. connection is starting strong in Minnesota. I like those types of things. As you guys will see throughout this show, I'll kind of mention some of the extra stuff that happens outside of just the practices that I think leads to a player standing out. Now, this is, of course, not necessarily a minicamp standout thing at all. We already know that Sam Darnold was named the quarterback one. But, of course, just seeing J.J. McCarthy's locker next to Justin Jefferson, that just gives you the confidence to know that the Minnesota Vikings, of course, do view J.J. McCarthy as their quarterback of the future and very much are prioritizing getting that connection established sooner rather than later. So it's cool that that's happening. Of course, no big football takeaway or anything like that, but just the fact that they are next to each other is cool. It's cool. They'll have a little bit extra time with each other. J.J. McCarthy will be able to pick Justin Jefferson's brain a little bit more and just kind of see the inner workings of the organization behind, really the team's biggest star. So that's where I'm at with that. Just a cool little small little tidbit. So that's the J.J. McCarthy thing. An actual standing out at minicamp update revolves around the Washington Commanders, and this came as Jayden Daniels was interviewed after practices this week and said that him and Luke McCaffrey are coming in early, extra every single day for extra reps and to study film together. This is incredible news. We already know from rookie OTAs that Jayden Daniels and Luke McCaffrey were establishing a major connection. To see it continue now through the mandatory minicamps is awesome. As we know, there are already two wide receivers ahead of Luke McCaffrey in Jahan Dotson, in Terry McLaurin. So to hear that Luke McCaffrey and Jayden Daniels are continuously establishing this connection together, the time that they said they're coming into the the building every single day at 5:45, so almost 3 hours early, in fact maybe even more, every single day for extra reps and film study. That's the exact type of stuff that you want to see. I love hearing about the film studying, but from a quarterback or a wide receiver. But I especially love when it's a quarterback and a wide receiver doing it together. We saw last year Josh Downs and Anthony Richardson. They were studying immensely together, getting practices and throwing the ball to each other in the hotel parking lot. That's the type of things that you want to hear. These rookie wide receivers working with their rookie quarterbacks. Generally, that means that they're going to establish a really good connection to each other, get on the same page and everything. So I would just say Luke McCaffrey, very interesting, because going into the NFL draft, a lot of us liked him. Myself included. Everyone had almost the exact same take on Luke McCaffrey, and that is that he's probably going to take some time, but he'll break out eventually. He just switched to the wide receiver position after being a former quarterback, so he had just some stuff to learn on top of coming from a smaller school. But But he's landed in an ideal situation. The slot wide receiver role is wide open on this offense. And the fact that he's coming in with a rookie quarterback that's a hard film studier, that's awesome because Luke McCaffrey is in the same vein. And the fact that Luke McCaffrey is a former quarterback is also incredible because that means that he understands the game from Jayden Daniels' perspective and knows the pockets of the defense, knows everything really. And so that is just going to make this easier for Luke McCaffrey to break out as a rookie. Again, my original take was that he's probably going to take some time, but I like the landing spot. And the fact that the Commanders used that 3rd round draft pick on him was a shock. No one expected him to get drafted as high as he did, and he was. So I think that, we need to kind of take the pre-draft mentality we had from Luke McCaffrey out and just say, he really has a path to succeed in year 1, especially if he's going to continue to grow this connection and friendship with Jayden Daniels by coming in and working extra along with him. That's the Puka Nacua stuff, right? Working with Cooper Kupp. That's the Josh Downs stuff, working with Anthony Richardson. That's really everything we hear. The Tank Dell and CJ Stroud, right? That's the connections. These wide receiver to quarterback, just when they're doing this extra stuff together, we have to take note. So I am getting Luke McCaffrey earlier than I have been. I've seen him go in 4th round in rookie drafts. I think that's ridiculous. I think he should at least be 3rd round rookie draft. And his redraft value might be too cheap now. I mean, he's going after Jahan Dotson. But Luke McCaffrey's looking like to be Jayden Daniels' favorite target. I'm not going to lie. That is, when you hear these things, that's immediately what I think is Jayden Daniels is going to have a Luke McCaffrey first read. That is where I'm at with this. I think it's incredible, and I'm glad to hear about it. So keep your eyes on Luke McCaffrey, guys. Keep your eyes on Jayden Daniels. But to me, just hearing that this connection is establishing in such a big way is incredible news. So I want to hold on to Luke McCaffrey as he is really, really cheap to get right now. Throw him on your taxi squad, and you'll probably be able to elevate him as I now expect a rookie breakout from him. I'm not going to lie. Speaking of studying hard, I'm going to go ahead and talk about some players that have been standing out outside of just being good on the field. That's what we expect, right? That's something that we're going to talk about after I finish this segment. These are players that are working out in gym shorts. The things that I want to know at this point, I don't care about the big plays. I give 2 shits about these big plays. What I care about is what are the coaches and other players saying about their work habits, about their film studying habits, and how quickly they're learning offenses. That's what I care about right now because this is mostly walkthroughs. This is no pads, right? This is just obviously the athletes are going to be athletic. Let's see how the nerds are doing in regards to just studying the playbook and getting acclimated to the NFL. That's the important stuff to me. So to hear that Marvin Harrison Jr. is not only impressing on the field, but being one of the best in the film room, that's what you want to hear. That's exactly what you want to hear. Marvin Harrison Jr., again, we talked about it last week. Michael Wilson called him perspicacious, which is someone who is basically astute in their details when studying the game. That's incredible. That's what you want to hear. We all know that Marvin Harrison has the physical tools to be an elite wide receiver. The question was, how good of a film studier is he? How quickly can he pick up an offense, and everything around that. And the fact that we're hearing that he's studying film super, super well, the fact that he's asking questions and understanding the offense already, that's exactly what you want to hear. So that's awesome. It again just gives us a little bit more confidence in Marvin Harrison Jr. And again, I'll say he really does have a path to finish as the wide receiver 1 in fantasy this season as a rookie. I think it's more likely he's a top 5, but think about it. There's not really any other weapons on this offense. Say what you want about Trey McBride. He didn't do it with other weapons. And Michael Wilson is fine as well. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is a true alpha wide receiver. He could have 150 targets as a rookie, right? And that's awesome. These are targets coming from Kyler Murray on really a potent offense. So I really do think that Marvin Harrison Jr., even if he's expensive as hell right now, is still a little underpriced. I don't think we've quite reached the Marvin Harrison Jr. ceiling quite yet. So I'm actually not against buying him, and I'm not against drafting him in redraft either. Again, I think he could easily finish as a top 5 wide receiver. In fact, if we were to go through my seasonal rankings, I have him top 8 among all players. I actually have Marvin Harrison Jr. ahead of both Puka Nacua and Garrett Wilson, and that was before hearing he's doing really well in the film room. I really like Marvin Harrison's prospects this season. And speaking of some other players that are killing it in the film room, other rookies even, Brian Thomas Jr. is one of them as well. And this one was actually a shock to me, as this is a player that I think all of us were just like, Brian Thomas Jr., he's an athlete, and that's what he's bringing to the table in Jacksonville. But here's what Trevor Lawrence had to say. I really like him. Obviously, he's talented and can fly, but he's really smart. I think that's the one thing I'm most impressed with is he's picking up the offense super fast. He's a quiet guy, so we're still getting him to ask questions and stuff, but he doesn't ask any questions. He always knows what to do, so I've been impressed. It's tough for a rookie. I've been there at one point, and I was just swimming around a little bit, but to see him come out here and pick everything up and not skip a beat has been impressive. He gets more as he gets more comfortable in the system and knows what to do. He's just going to get better and better. Our chemistry is growing every day, starting to get a feel for how he likes to run routes. That's incredible stuff to hear. Again, Brian Thomas Jr., as you hear in this quote, excelling as a physical talent, right? Obviously going out there, being talented, winning routes, making some splash plays. But what's standing out to Trevor Lawrence is the fact that he's doing well in the film room. He's not really asking a ton of questions, and he's going out there and performing exactly what he's supposed to do without any questions, without any direction. Like, he's obviously studied the playbook enough to where he knows what to do every single time they're going out there and running these plays. That's exactly what you want to hear. And then to continue with Trevor Lawrence saying that their chemistry is growing every day, that he's starting to learn how he runs his routes, and that everything is just going to get better and better. That's incredible stuff. Brian Thomas Jr. has all the athleticism in the world to be a star in this league, and he landed in an offense where that's totally possible. Christian Kirk, yes, he's a target hog, but he doesn't have the ceiling that Brian Thomas Jr. has. Gabe Davis, yes, he has the ceiling, but he doesn't have the floor that Brian Thomas has either. Brian Thomas Jr. actually does have the alpha potential on this offense. I still think it's going to take some time. He is a bit of a rawer prospect, even if he is super athletic. But to hear that he's doing all the work in the film room and understanding the offense at a high level already, that gives me a little bit more confidence that he might be able to break out earlier than I thought. So if you could scoop him for a reasonable price, I would do it. I still think I'm more on I'm going to get Brian Thomas Jr. week 2, week 3, as he starts off slow, and Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram are getting way more targets than people want. But, if you don't want to take that risk, I don't blame you. Trevor Lawrence could love a Brian Thomas Jr. And we know that Jayden Daniels loves to study film. So to hear the same thing from Brian Thomas Jr. Means that some of that Jayden Daniels stuff is kind of rubbed off on him from college. And it's good. It's really good stuff. So that's really good to hear from BTJ. Standing out physically, but also intellectually. And that's exactly what you want to hear in this time. And lastly, Ladd McConkey is doing the same thing. I think we could all expect this. That was kind of the big thing about Ladd McConkey is he's super good at understanding football and just a really, really good route runner. And so this is what Justin Herbert had to say. He picked up the offense so easily. It's like he's a 4 or 5 year vet. He understands the game, understands leverage. He's a smart player and very athletic, and he can beat man coverage while also finding the soft spot in zones. I mean, that's already what we knew about Ladd McConkey, but just to hear those words coming from Justin Herbert's mouth is also incredible. We have the little bit of a concern with Ladd McConkey, as I've been saying, is the fact that he was always unhealthy in college and doesn't even have a 500-yard season. So that's the concern here. But we know that he's an excellent football player and is going to be a very successful slot receiver if he can stay healthy. And so to just hear that he's already picking up the offense, to hear him say he's like a 4 or 5 year vet, that's really good stuff. So it sounds like he knows what he's doing. Sounds like Justin Herbert is going to love Ladd McConkey. And to hear those specifically understanding leverage, beating man coverage, and finding the soft spots and zones, that means that Justin Herbert probably already trusts him to find those things and is probably going to be looking for him pretty much all the time in the slot. So that's really, really good news for those of you, actually, I haven't really been doing it, drafting Ladd McConkey at his current price. I've been a little scared, but I mean, he really could be a PPR machine. Again, I am totally in on Justin Herbert this season. So that means I should be in on some of his weapons. More so I'm in on Josh Palmer just because he's so cheap right now. But Ladd McConkey has a major path to success as well. And it sounds like he is already excelling both on the field and in the film room. Again, those are kind of my big things that mean a lot to me, is if you're standing out in the film room right now, if you're picking up the playbook in the offense right now, that's really, really incredible. And that's what I'm looking for mostly, which will lead us to Malik Nabers. We're not hearing anything about Malik Nabers outside of him making some flash plays. And I am concerned about that. I really, really am. Because this is New York City we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. This media, the New York media, is dying for a star, right? They're going to force all the hype around Malik Nabers as much as they can. So of course we're going to see these circus catches. Of course we're going to hear about how athletic he is. What I want to hear about Malik Nabers is he's fitting in with the offense. He's picking up the schemes. He knows what routes to run. He's establishing a connection, right? Those are the things we're not hearing. All we're hearing about Malik Nabers right now is that he's an athletic freak, that he is blasting past coverage and he's making good catches. That's what we want from Malik Nabers. That's what we know we're going to get from Malik Nabers. And we are in short season, so of course he's going to be doing that. I want to hear his studying habits. I want to hear how he's working extra, right? And that's not anything we're hearing from Malik Nabers. That is not a single thing we're hearing. And it's not going to lead me to fade Malik Nabers at all. But I am just going to continue to temper my expectations from him. Again, there's just so many question marks in New York right now that I don't really want to pay the King's ransom to get a Malik Nabers. As athletic as he is, sure, he could beat me. Whatever. I'll take it. As again, he's probably going to be catching from Daniel Jones, and it's probably not going to be that good of an offense. Could he score some fantasy points? Sure. But again, we're not hearing anything about him putting in extra work right now, and that kind of concerns me. It just does. It just does. I don't care about circus catches in June. I care about coming in early, staying late, asking the right questions, answering the right questions, running the right routes. That's what I care about. So yes, Malik Nabers is working with the first team already. Yes, Malik Nabers is making some flash plays. But that is what we should have expected and know from him already. I want to hear some extra stuff, and we're not hearing that yet, and that is making me a little concerned. Although, the New York media probably knows that that's all people care about, right? They just want the clicks and everything. But I just want to kind of put that out there and say that the New York media is dying for a star. Saquon Barkley's gone. Daniel Jones is hurt. Everyone on the team sucks. So much attention is going to be on Malik Nabers. So, of course, we're going to see a ton of highlight clips. Don't let that get you too excited. We're in short season. He's going to excel. He's that type of player. So that's where I'm at on him. The next player we have standing out right now is Blake Corum. Here's what Sean McVay had to say. On the offensive side, I've been pleased with a lot of guys, but Blake Corum has really stood out, mature beyond his years. I love the way that he handles himself. I love even more how there's been a couple of things that didn't go the way we wanted and how he responded the next play. The mental toughness that you see from him. Ron Gold is excellent with that room, and even Kyron, in his own way, has done such a great job of imparting a certain amount of wisdom with him. Corum will get his opportunities and even said himself that he'll definitely be catching the ball out of the backfield, indicating he could be in for a third down role as a blocker and receiver in obvious passing situations. That's really good news. We know that Kyron Williams is out right now with his foot injury. So to hear that Blake Corum is standing out in his absence is exactly what you want to hear. You want to make sure that Blake Corum is soaking up every extra opportunity thrown his way. And to hear that he says he's definitely going to be catching passes, that is incredible news, as Kyron Williams was okay in the pass game, but definitely not very explosive in the pass game. So to hear that Blake Corum could have that role, maybe be in on third downs, that's a really good start. Again, I still think that this is Kyron Williams' backfield. I think he played too well for the Rams to want to go away from him. But could this devolve into a 60-40 split? Easily, right? Easily. And both could be productive. Blake Corum's a really good running back. And yes, Kyron Williams a really good running back. But the health concerns are true. So I do still want to take my swings on Blake Corum, as he is a little bit cheaper to acquire right now with such a bad landing spot. But arguably, it's a good landing spot. Even with Kyron Williams there, it is a system that has been very conductive to running back success. And if Kyron Williams goes down, there's just so much contingent upside for Blake Corum. So he's standing out at camp right now, looking athletic, studying well, and of course, announcing that he's going to be a little bit of a pass catcher. And that's what you want to hear from Blake Corum. So that is the Blake Corum news. We have a few more players to talk about, and it gets less and less and less exciting until the deep sleeper that I teased at the beginning of the show. So we'll move on to Kayshon Boutte, who happens to be the standout at Patriots minicamp. This is what was said by one of the beat reporters. Kayshon Boutte's performance during minicamp this past week was eye-opening. On Wednesday, he caught a team-high 5 passes, and that included 3 catches in a row during a red zone drill with Drake May at quarterback. On one play, he jumped over corner Alex Austin for the touchdown. On the very next, he jumped over defensive back Mickey Victor for the score. So I want to talk about this because, one, it seems that Kayshon Boutte is working with the second team. If he's catching passes from Drake May and absolutely mossing Alex Austin and Mickey Victor, two corners I've never heard of and two corners we'll probably never hear from again. But to still hear that he's standing out is something to take note, as, of course, he was a rookie last season for LSU, so that, is a university that has had a little bit of success. But he just failed the combine, but was pretty decent in college. Could just take some time here. And in such a crowded receiver room, someone's going to stand out, right? And Kayshon Boutte is free 99 right now. So why not? Why not? It's someone to hold on to through training camp to see if any more positive news continues to bubble up around him. If he's available and you've got the roster space, I don't mind taking the swing. Do I think he'll be the guy? No. But is he worth holding on to? Yes. That's kind of where I'm at, just in case. I still think that, of course, it's probably going to be Jalen Polk, Javon Baker. I think Tyquan Thornton gets a role, being completely honest. And Kendrick Bourne, of course, too. They just extended him. Demario Douglas is out there. Juju Smith-Schuster is technically still there as well. So it's going to be hard for Kayshon Boutte to crack, a starting position. But he could be a depth piece. And if he's already connecting with Drake May right now, that could be something that develops over the course of the season, even if they're both on second team together. But, over time, injuries, whatever. But at the very least, I'd say for training camp through the rest of the summer, if you want to roster Kayshon Boutte to see what could happen during preseason, I don't hate it. Next is Xavier Gipson. Some hype is building around Xavier Gipson, but I want to quelch that a little bit, as it seems that both Malachi Corley and Mike Williams have not been practicing last week. And so Xavier Gipson getting the hype as being the wide receiver 2 seems a little bit unfounded. The notes out there that, oh my God, Xavier Gipson is working as the wide receiver 2 with the one team. Again, Mike Williams and Malachi Corley weren't there. So it's going to be hard for us to actually say that he's going to be the wide receiver 2. Is this good news? Yes. I mean, it shows that the Jets do at least think that Xavier Gipson could potentially play in that role if asked to. But I think more than anything, Xavier Gipson is probably the wide receiver 3 on this offense ahead of Malachi Corley, at least traditionally. Malachi Corley, I think, may get more targets than him, even if he's like the wide receiver 4, just because I think that Malachi Corley will be the gadget player his rookie season. Xavier Gipson, of course, has these special teams kind of prowess. And so he should be a sneaky wide receiver 3 on this offense. He's, of course, got shiftiness and he's quick. And that's something that, never really leads to a lot of volume, but still at least gets something. And if injuries fall his way, he could end up getting that volume. This was a player that stood out last year. So to hear that he's standing out again is, of course, something to note. But I do just want to, at least say that Mike Williams and Malachi Corley weren't there. So, of course, he's going to be the wide receiver 2. Which leads us to Cedric Tillman. This is what a beat reporter had to say. Actually, sorry. This is what Browns wide receiver coach said about Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman won the offensive MVP this spring. I'll say that I'm so happy with Ced's development, and he really took advantage. He was in this building nonstop, didn't miss a day, worked so hard, and I can't say enough about the job he did. The Browns wide receiver core is abysmal outside of Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy. Whoever earns that wide receiver 3 role could be pretty solid, as Jerry Jeudy has not been that good, and Amari Cooper is, of course, holding out right now. Cedric Tillman, if he earns that wide receiver 3 role, could actually end up being the wide receiver 2. This is another player that was actually pretty solid in college and was a decent enough prospect and stood out a little bit last year. Never really did a ton, but still, he grabbed our attention a little bit. And to hear him grabbing our attention again is very intriguing. I don't believe in Elijah Moore. I don't believe in David Bell. So, taking a swing on Cedric Tillman, not a bad idea at all. And that is it in terms of the standouts I have for you, of course, except for the final guy that I wanted to talk about. So let's go ahead and go straight into that. We have some news that a 6th round rookie for the Atlanta Falcons is standing out right now at the Atlanta camp. And I don't want to just bring this up because of being in Atlanta, but because it seems very interesting. This is not a homer take at all. Casey Washington, 6th round rookie from Illinois, is a pretty intriguing option right now, because right now the wide receiver role in Atlanta is basically wide open. We have Drake London and Darnell Mooney. I think that we pretty much know that's going to happen. And yes, they brought in Rondale Moore, but he's totally beatable. He has not, done enough on the NFL field. And he is a bit undersized. And Casey Washington right now is standing out. This is a 6'1", 200-pound guy from Illinois with 88th percentile burst, and he ran a 4.46 at the pro day for Illinois. He actually never really did anything in college, which is very interesting. But what is starting to be reported here is that he started the week with the 4th team and did so well that by midweek, he was already taking reps with the 1st team, catching passes from Kirk Cousins. That's incredible news. And that shows that he clearly stood out more than the rest of the wide receivers on the team for him to move up the ranks that quickly. Again, he has size and speed at 6'1", 200 pounds, a 4.4 40. But again, didn't have much college production. However, he was a late breakout. He was a very late breakout and produced all over. He actually had 3 pass attempts. He had a rushing touchdown. He had a tackle on defense. It's very interesting that they used him all over. And at his final year at Illinois, he had a very late breakout. His final game, his very last game as a college player, 9 receptions for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. A very big game. And another fun fact, his gloves from the Big Ten Championship in 2021 happened to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. So this seems to be a player who has a little bit of a clutch factor, whether it be showing up in the final game of his career or to have his gloves in the College Football Hall of Fame. Either way, he has a 200-yard, 3-touchdown game. And he has size and speed, and he's been standing out at camp for the Atlanta Falcons. This is a player who is easily available in every league. I don't even think he was drafted in 5th-round rookie drafts. In fact, I know he's available after 12 rounds of drafting in the Wake and Take Invitational League, a 32-teamer. He's available everywhere. I say get him, as I think that he actually will probably earn that wide receiver 3 role if things continue to trend this way. And I think it's just important to note, because short season is when a wide receiver like a Rondale Moore would probably do really well. Casey Washington is a very physical receiver and would actually probably stand out more in pads. So to hear him standing out in the gym shorts and t-shirts is incredible news. To hear that he started the week on the 4th team and finished with the 1st team, that should make you say, what the hell? So Casey Washington, 6th-round rookie from Illinois, Atlanta Falcons drumbeat coming for this guy. Go ahead and take note. Casey Washington, a name to keep note of. So that is everything I have for you guys regarding our camp standouts. I'm sure there's some other ones out there, but those are the big ones that I took note of. I do just want to say before we go, that, I would be very concerned as we continue to go through training camps in a few weeks here. If you continue to hear basically no noise around a player, that is not good. You at least want to hear something, good or bad. You don't really want to hear nothing. So there are some players out there that we haven't really heard a lot of that has started to make me feel a little concerned. We'll wait, as it's just been rookie OTAs. It's just been mandatory mini camps. But as we go through the true training camp in a few weeks, we got to listen. And it's very important to make note of what we don't hear. I think that's almost more important than what we do here. So that's something to keep note of before we move on from this into the chat questions. What do you guys have to say? My deep sleeper was not Ryan Flournoy, but we are hearing some positive news from him. But I want to wait before I get a little too excited. Again, while there is a ton of potential for him, he is still a 6th-round rookie from a smaller school. I've got to temper expectations a little bit, but I am very much excited for him and do think he is the wide receiver too. Just not enough yet. We haven't heard enough yet. We've just heard a couple big plays, and he's working hard. But I want to hear him catching passes from Dak Prescott before I get too excited. All right, you're on the clock at the 111 and need a quarterback for your super flex. You have Mahomes and Justin Fields. Would you take Bo Nix or trade the pick for Baker Mayfield? I would actually probably go with Bo Nix right here, but I don't hate the idea of getting Baker Mayfield. He's, of course, ahead in Dynasty rankings. I really do believe in Bo Nix. I'm not going to lie. And while he didn't stand out to me at the Senior Bowl, I just like that landing spot. I do think that him and Sean Payton are a match made in heaven. I think the fact that he still has his favorite weapon from college, Troy Franklin, is going to help a ton. And it may not be great year one, but I still think that this team is going to be so bad that they have to pass the ball a ton, which should at least lead to garbage time points. And I don't think the team's going to go away from Bo Nix at all, even if he's not that great. So I think you have a locked-in starter with him. I really do. And probably for the next few seasons. And he's young. Well, at least younger than Baker Mayfield. So I think I'd go Bo Nix, but I don't hate if you want to go ahead and get Baker Mayfield. Is Bowers getting it done? I have Bowers for ETN sitting in my offers. I have not heard anything about Brock Bowers, being completely honest with you. I have not heard a single thing. You offered a 25 first for Michael Penix. Hold. Because you will be able to get a 25 first for Michael Penix next year or more, right? This is the floor for Michael Penix. That's the reason we've been screaming to draft him, because in Superflex leagues, he's not losing value. Even if he doesn't play a single game, his value is going up as we are getting closer and closer to him inevitably starting. So if you have him now, he is the epitome of hold. Just throw him on your taxi squad. Don't take a single damn thing for him, because you could get the same or more next year. Ryan asks, have you picked your division yet in Scott Fishbowl? Yes, I am in the Scott Pilgrim division right now. So go join me there at the Scott Pilgrim division if you'd like to play against me. And Terminal Sarcasm asks, Wake and Take draft analysis. Yes, I believe tomorrow, given if everything stays slow in the news world, I plan to do a little bit of a startup review for the Wake and Take draft. Take a look at what happened in the 32-team startup that we did at Wake and Take. Give some advice for startups in general. Talk about some of the best picks, the worst picks, stuff like that. Should be a fun episode, so make sure you tune into that. Expert Mike makes a good point. You could take that 25 first now in case it's an early one, but that's more up to you. And if you want to look at their team build and see if it's a really bad team. But either way, I just think that you could probably get a 25 first from pretty easily next year anyway. But that is it, everyone. That was a fun episode. So thank you as always for tuning in. Thanks for the questions. And hope to see you all tomorrow on the Player Profiler YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at 10 a.m. Eastern, wherever you get your content. You should go ahead and follow me at JFootballWine, wherever you get your social media. Make sure to follow Player Profiler wherever you get your social media, whether that be at Player Profiler or at Roto Underworld. Go ahead and hit the like button on this video. Go ahead and subscribe to both the Player Profiler and the Player Profiler News YouTube channels, as there's excellent content coming out every single day. Go ahead and do that, guys. And lastly, find the Wake and Take podcast via link in the description if you'd like to listen to the show as well. Everyone, you have a magnificent Monday and a wonderful rest of your week. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.